As last year's president, I am proud to report that 2017 was another successful year for the Chamber as we strive to achieve the Chamber's vision of being the organization of choice in the Grove City area for promoting an optimal business climate and excellent quality of life. Some of the highlights from last year include we welcomed 22 new members into the Chamber. We celebrated 6 grand openings with ribbon cutting ceremonies and 1 groundbreaking ceremony for members. We offered programs such as Eggs and Issues, the Working Women's Luncheon, and full Chamber membership quarterly meetings. We held events including the annual trade show, golf outing, Great Balls of Fall, Chamber Awards Evening, a red carpet event, Downtown Sounds concert series, Foodie Fest, Cash Mobs, and Christmas in the Park. We produced the Grove City Community Guide, Volume 7, which was distributed locally and all across Pennsylvania. With your help, we awarded a $500 business community scholarship to a Grove City High School senior. We continue to collaborate with other chambers and organizations in the community through joint events, including a multi-chamber mixer, Mercer County Commissioners Luncheon, the 40 Under 40 Awards Program, and the breakfast with Secretary David. We organized and led efforts in the mini career day for 5th graders in the Grove City schools, the Grove City area's college and commerce mixer at Grove City College, and small business Saturday in the Grove City area. Our Leadership Grove City program was held in 2017 with a class of 10 participants, which you will hear more about later in the program. We thank all of you for your support and participation in all the programs and events that the Chamber offers and encourage you to become more involved in 2018. In closing, I want to give a special thank you to Beth, Kelsey, and all the board members for their support, time, and efforts in our past year in making our Chamber a community asset that we can all be proud of. Thank you. And at this time, I'll turn it back over to Greg, who's going to introduce our guest speaker.
All right. So maybe much to Eric's dismay, I have the honor to introduce the star of tonight is John Cole. So you've probably had an opportunity, I hope anyway, to read the bio in your pamphlet. There are a couple things that weren't in there. John was one of the, I don't want to say founding, but early on in the World's Strongest Man competition. And I'm sure we may get some stories about his past, but if I could describe John, without knowing him as well as maybe some of you do, I could easily describe him as accomplished, well-educated, maybe busy would be a good word, local, and compassionate. And I think after you're done hearing his speech tonight, especially if he gets a chance to talk about his charity, his 501c3, which is the Adventures in Training with a Purpose. If you haven't looked that up, please do. It's an amazing organization whose purpose is to help those with physical limitations exceed what they think they're able to do. And I'll let him get more into that, but if you would please clap your hands, let me hand this over to John Cole.
Thank you, Greg. I wrote the stuff on my notes here. I've been writing on that I finally kind of finished organizing it tonight. But I wrote the introduction, if you will, tonight, and I have written I'm proud to be here. I've written I'm honored to be here. I've written it's a pleasure to be here. I am just happy as I can be. This is my socks off to see you all again. Thank you for the invitation. This is great to see. Part of it's a problem. Carly Gregg, my wife taught Carly in the 4th grade Sunday school class, and she says, "There's Carly." No, she's, can't be her. So, but I'd also wanted you to know too, my kids have grown up. We came to Grove City specifically because I grew up in Owasso, Oklahoma. I mean, that is Andy Mayberry as you can get. And we were living in the North Hills, North Allegheny. My oldest son went to school in North Allegheny. When we moved up here, he had just matriculated to Ohio University. But I wanted a Andy Mayberry, and we found it. So I wanted to take a minute. I mean that as a positive way. If you take that, throwing the rocks, skipping the rocks down in the creek and stuff, on Wolf Creek, that's what we did. When I came here, my youngest son, Caleb, was in preschool. He went preschool, kindergarten, graduated, and we still lived in Grove City during his first year in Nebraska. He has graduated. Actually, Caleb's coming home now, and it's going to help me because I'm not a business person. I'm really struggling with this part of it. Tanner, our middle son, when we came to Grove City, he was an 8th grader. And went to Messiah College, graduated, went to grad school at Oklahoma State. And Tanner is a strength coach for wrestling, rifle. He was in the President's Oval Office. If you win a national championship, I don't know if you know this, you get to go see the President. And rifle team at West Virginia, which he coaches, won the national championship. And he coaches men and women's soccer as well. And Eric, our oldest son, while we were living here, he was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. The way I remember saying, you got to find something you can do from a wheelchair, because he's in a wheelchair today. But he just finished his PhD in psychology, and that commercial where you have the most interesting guy in the world, the beer commercial. I have the smartest son in the world. He will tell you that now that he's got those initials behind his name. So anyway, I wanted to thank you for that. Catch you up on what we are doing. We were asked tonight about my wife. Deborah was a stay-at-home mom now. She's in her little clothing. I shouldn't say little. She's having fun with that. So I see her going like this. Just a little bit about what I guess for me, how we kind of got going this direction. I don't like to look at team pictures because we keep having to, Mark, there's too many funerals for me to, and at one of the funerals, the pastor said he became a pastor because when he died, he wanted to have no regrets, no guilt, and no shame. And for me, the middle one, the guilt and from my Christian faith, that's taken care of. I know I can always do something stupid on the third one, but the one that really made me start thinking a couple years ago at this particular funeral was the no regrets. And some of it, Carly, you can make some mistakes, okay, because you have time to change course. But for some of us, we're at the point now, we need to make decisions seriously. And as I was working in this orthopedic office, I began to think and watch and see the disparity in how we make decisions for people. If you have an athlete and he has an orthopedic injury, he's treated twice a day. But you can have a senior or a veteran and have the same injury, and they're allowed, the insurance dictates, so we're only seeing twice a week. same injury. And so you have people so many times and they're not making progress. And particularly, so what Adventures in Training with a Purpose does, I'll just kind of give you a little outline, is there's probably 3 areas that we really focus on. One, we have people with chronic illnesses. That would be things like Parkinson's, MS. I have people with ALS. We have people with osteoporosis, heart disease. And then we have children also that we work with as well that have learning disabilities. So that's one area. The second area is we've just got this underway. We received a grant to work with children in Farrell and Sharon, and these are children at risk, and they're 5th through 9th grade. It's an after-school program, and I don't know, maybe nobody, I'm the only one that thinks this, but you know, I'm not a really good psychologist, but when you read your psychology textbooks, they talk about something called learned helplessness. And it seems to me, and if you don't agree, hold up your hand, because this, and we'll talk about it, but it seems to me we are creating learned helplessness because we feed these children in the mornings, we feed them lunch, we feed them, they have the program, then we feed them before we send them home, and then we send them home on the weekend with a backpack so they have something to eat. I agree with that. We need to take care of them, but we need to do more. That's my point. We need to do more because what are we teaching them? You know, you grow up, you don't really have to take care of your family. And so we have a program where we work with these children, and essentially we're doing sensory integration movement skills. I go do football camps, and we can't even sometimes get to the football drills because we have kids that can't skip. They have no balance. They can't change directions. They can't do basic skills. And we want to blame the concussions on equipment or the game's too rough. That's why we're Americans and we love collisions. We are, you know, and I'm coaching, I want my people to be collision experts because that's what wins football games. And Deborah was so upset about the Steelers the other day. You know, we would have learned how to collide. Okay, I won't even get into that. But collision experts. But that's what it's about. But you have to learn, you have to teach the children to do it with proper techniques if they're going to play at a young age. The third area that ATP is involved in, and this seems like right now, and I stumbled into it, we begin to get veterans that were coming in to work with us. And most of these people, are struggling with things like Parkinson's, chronic illnesses like Parkinson's and MS are the 2 big ones. And so we've been attracting more as we've had some success. And so just to let you know, I don't know if you're aware, in Pennsylvania alone, there are 900,000 veterans. We're number 4 in the nation. Right next door in Ohio, they're number 6. And so that would be the third area that ATP, and that's called Adventures in Training with a Purpose, is what ATP stands for. So I'll let you know what's going on there. So thank you for that time. So the things that I'd written down in my notes that I really wanted to share, my first thought, Beth, and board members, was what is it that you could share with an organization that really has an impact in the community? And as I was starting to think about that, a few weeks ago, my sons, I learned things from my sons. I hope you all are learning things from your children. But Caleb said this to me. He coaches wrestling now in Nebraska. And here's what he said the other day. And he said, Dad, we've got to change the culture here in Nebraska for wrestling. And what he meant was this. When you go in the wrestling room in a school in Pennsylvania, those kids know when they walk out that they're going to be wore out. It's just that's the way the culture for wrestling in Pennsylvania is. and it's not the same culture for wrestling in Nebraska. And he said, that's what we have to do. We have to change this culture. And I began to think about the culture, for example, in sports. I began to think about the culture of religion, political culture, racial culture, socioeconomic cultures, environmental cultures. And you know what, as I went through all these various cultures, I kind of think that the sports culture may have the best culture. And if you want to take a culture inside and emulate that, maybe that's a good idea. And as I began to try to put that together, I was reminded of one of my favorite speakers. And I think the last time I heard Tony Campolo's, does anybody remember Tony Campolo's talk? He said this, I'll never forget, because he was talking about, in Grove City College, he was talking about he was at this function, and there were all these professors and doctors and stuff, and they would say, yeah, they're from Colgate, they're from Harvard, they're from Yale, and they would say, and sir, where are you from? And where, where'd you go? He said, Temple. And they would go, oh. And so he would tell people he's from Temple O. So as I put this together, I get to teach at YSU, and so I'm from YSUO. And so I get to teach kinesiology. And I could be academic and say it's arthrology, osteology, myology, and neurology, but it's just bones, joints, muscles, and nerves. So why are we trying to make it so complicated? And so when I think about the sports culture that we ought to emulate, it's not that complicated. Because, for example, my friends that, Beth, when I was talking with you, you're all excited. I will tell you this first off about them. I don't care if you're talking about Joe Green, Franco Harris, Mel Blount. Here's the one thing they have in common that I don't think any other culture really does. They knew who they were before they got there. I'm talking about Pittsburgh. They knew who they were. They knew who they were while they were there, and they know who they are now. And it's the same person. Does that make sense? And so they weren't fascinated with themselves when they were playing at Pittsburgh because they're the same person and they're not upset. Now there's a difference. There's one guy, my roommate was a guy named Terry Bradshaw. And this guy, October 26th, I get a phone call. We're playing the Cleveland Browns. It's Deborah. I'm in the shower. And I'm coming out of the shower, and Terry goes, boil water. I hear him in the shower. And I said, come out, boil water? Who was that? He said, oh, it's Deborah. She said her water broke. I said, you told her to boil water? He said, well, that's what John Wayne told Maureen O'Hara on the Western thing, boil water. I don't know if Terry, not the last time we were together, we do, about once a year everybody gets together, and he was a little bit late. And he comes in the room and he's going like this, and I said, what's up? And he said, oh, there's this woman outside, and she's going, oh my gosh, you used to be Terry Bradshaw. And he goes, yeah, I used to be, but I ain't no more. But most of the other guys, they know who they are, who they were, and it's the same person. One of the other things I think about my friends and in the sports culture that makes it, we're different, redneck kind of, is we don't have a box. So we don't have to figure out if we're thinking inside the box or outside the box. All these other cultures, you got a box, and you got to figure out whether you're thinking you know what we have? We have a vision. And I think any community that's trying to make an impact, any person that's trying to make an impact, get rid of the box. You don't need a box. Get yourself a vision. I'm not talking about a dream. Dreams happen while you're sleeping. A vision happens while you're awake, and you start to build on it. I think that's so important, and I think that's what you see in the sports culture. I think one of the reasons, I believe this with my heart, that the Pittsburgh Steelers that I got to be part of won 4 Super Bowls in 6 years. You know why? We didn't know we were going to get a ring. We did not. I am in New Orleans. How about this? My college roommate, who is the best man in our wedding, was playing for the Minnesota Vikings. We met in the Oklahoma All-State football game. He was the captain of the South, I was the captain of the North. We became roommates. But now, we were friends all through college. But now we're playing against each other. And we had to sneak out because Bud Grant and Chuck Noll are cut from the same cloth. And you're not supposed to associate with the enemy. So we would sneak out and our friends would and our parents would come and we'd have dinner together. And Terry said to me one night after dinner, he goes, "Oh, by the way, let me show you the ring that you're going to get." See, both teams, Philadelphia and New England, will both get a ring. I don't know if you know that. Okay? New England will get the runner-up ring, I hope. I'll say that positive. Cheer for the left guard, 61. Leo Wisniewski, who maybe some of you know, played for the Colts, has a ministry called Locking Arms Men. His son is left guard, Stefan Wisniewski. But we didn't know we got a ring. And I said, "You mean you get a ring for playing in a football game?" And he goes, "You idiot, you don't even know that you get a ring for playing in this game?" I said, "No, I didn't know that." So I got in the cab and I went back and I said to my roommate, Sam Davis, "Sam, do you know they give us a ring for playing this game?" He goes, "They wouldn't give you a ring for playing in a football game. Why would they give you a ring for playing in a..." So we started asking people. Nobody knew we were going to get a ring. We were there to kick their, we were there to win. And it reminds me of a book that I was introduced to while I lived in Grove City by Patrick Morley, and the name of the book is The Man in the Mirror. Could be The Woman in the Mirror. But here's what he said, and I believe this is sport culture. He said this: "The process is the purpose." And for us, it was the process of getting there. I'm trying to keep that in mind as we do our nonprofit. He says the goal is the relationship. Process is the purpose. Goal is the relationship. Number 3, he said, and the plan is God's. That to me fits very nicely in sports culture. That was the way our guys did it. I have a couple more of these I just wanted to share because I think they fit. Maybe they're redneck, but I think they fit. Here's what sports also teaches you, I think. It teaches you about others. It teaches you to be others-centered. It takes away excuses. Most people that play football don't have a wheelhouse. I don't hear that much anymore, but I used to hear it all the time. I didn't know what a wheelhouse is. I finally figured it out. That's where you keep your excuses. So people can't do something. Why? Because it's not in their wheelhouse. So there you have an excuse for not being able to succeed in something. Because, has anybody heard the term wheelhouse? Okay, that's where what in the heck is a wheelhouse? We don't need one. That's just something for excuses. The only people that I knew that had a wheelhouse in sports were punters and kickers. And because, everybody else, we're out practicing in the snow and it's cold, and the punters and kickers are inside. They wouldn't even come out. Everybody else played everybody else's position for practice. And so it was not unusual to see Jack Lambert and a couple other guys taping a kicker to the goalpost after practice with his feet about 6 inches off the ground and just leaving them there. Why? Because they were, they couldn't come out with everybody else. Punters and kickers. Tony Dungy. How about this? What is the one distinction Tony Dungy has that nobody else in the entire NFL has. He's the only person in the NFL to throw an interception and make an interception in the same game. Why? Because playing offense and defense was not in his wheelhouse, or was in his wheelhouse. Two more. I think sports people, they have a purpose. And by that I mean they don't have a glass, or if they have a glass, the glass is a verb, not a noun. Because most cultures, they spend their life trying to figure out, is this glass half full or half empty? The purpose for a glass is a verb. You drink the glass and then you fill it up. And you drink the glass and you fill it up. You use up yourself. You drink and you fill it up. I always said you can never make a movie about the Pittsburgh Steelers. It would be too boring, because after the game, everybody's tank was completely empty. We were in a Super Bowl and nobody was doing the shaking. We were too tired. They let, there was nothing brought into the dressing room. Everything was out on the field. It was left. It was used up. Couldn't make a movie of it. One of the terms that Jack Lambert again coined was the term reload. Typically, win or lose, we'd come in the stadium and he'd say reload. What does he mean? Buckle up. That was the other one. Buckle up. That means get ready. We're going to do this again next week. Reload. Do it again. The last one I wanted to share with you as I thought about this was our coach, Chuck Noll. He was a big believer, and I'm trying to do this today with our 501c Adventures in Training with a Purpose, because he built the Steelers from the ground up. I don't think there's shortcuts. The world's always trying to take a shortcut. Everybody wants you to take a shortcut. I think we have to build it up from the ground up. Chuck was, I don't know, people are asking me how to describe him. I guess my favorite Chuck Noll story was Chuck was so focused that he really had a hard time just carrying on a conversation. I mean, we kind of talked there. Chuck wouldn't have been, I remember the first time Chuck talked to me. It was my third year in Pittsburgh. And what he did is, he sent the guy down that tells you you're cut. Okay? They call him the Turk. And so this kid knocks on the door and says, Coach Noll wants to see you. It's over. So I got my playbook and I start walking down the hallway to Chuck's office. And then I thought, wait a minute, he didn't say bring the playbook. So since I'm cut, I'm just going to put the playbook in my desk and make him say, where's your playbook? At least I'll have some. And so I walked back, and then when I got to my room, the back wall is brick. So I thought, well, I threw that playbook as hard as I could against the brick wall. 300 pages scattered everywhere. And I said, somebody's going to spend some time putting that back together. So I walked down the hallway, and I was proud of how tough I was, because I'm going to get cut, and I'm going to walk in there with my game face on. And I walk in, and it's just like they do in the movie. Chuck's like this. He's got his back to me. And he turns around, and he says, oh, John, come on in. So now I'm madder, if you can get madder, because I don't want to get cut nicely. And so then I'm looking, and he's got these pictures. And the first one is of an pileated woodpecker. That means it has these feathers, comes out of its head. And so he's showing me these pictures of these woodpeckers, and he's explaining, this is Chuck, he's explaining everything from the ground up that you need to know about woodpeckers. And so I'm standing there getting madder and madder, because at least tell me, am I cut or traded? And so after he gets through that, he takes that one, puts it on the bottom. Now we got an alligator. And he starts explaining the difference between alligators and crocodiles. It has something to do with the teeth. I don't really remember. And he's explaining alligators, and so he sees that I'm kind of and he says, well, I just thought I heard you like wildlife, and I thought maybe you'd like to see these pictures. I was in the Florida Everglades, and I thought maybe you'd like to look at these pictures. And I said, you mean I'm not cut? And he said, no, why would you think you're cut? Because the kid came down and said, come on down. He says, no, I just thought you'd like to look at these pictures. You can go on back to your room. So I'm walking down the room. I'm not cut. I'm not cut. It's okay. And then I got in the room, and there was 300 pages on the room. But Chuck's philosophy was ground up philosophy. He was not an X's and O guy. It wasn't, we're going to draw up all these plans and we're going to fool you. The thing I loved about it is when we played Dallas in the next 2 Super Bowls, they loved to say, we knew what you were going to run every play. To this day, I don't understand why they would admit that. We only had 5 plays to the left and 5 to the right, same plays. Everybody knew what we were going to run. But they were at least smart enough to not admit it because they couldn't stop us. That was the point. It was ground up football. So those are the things, just some of the things that I think if we are trying to make an impact in our community, in our world, that is really kind of redneck, it's kind of simple. We can take whatever culture you want to look at. The last thing that I wanted to share, that I believe this world is not a participation world, it's a winning world. Okay, in the book of Corinthians, it says everybody runs in the race, but only one person wins. He says, Paul writes, run to win. What do we do today? We start out with our kids giving them participation trophies. Run to win. The other one, this is kind of the why part of it. The other one, 1 Thessalonians 5:23 says, it uses this word, the original Greek word. First off, it has electrical word. Now in Oklahoma, where I grew up, nobody, for example, 1 Thessalonians 5:23 says, and now may the God of peace himself, electrical word, sanctify you. See, you can say it. Now in Oklahoma, they go, now may the God of peace himself sanctify you, like that. And you've got to, okay, do you all read electrical words in the Bible? Consecrated is another one. The pastors said, you got to be consecrated. And they would shake when they said sanctified or Christ. I could go through my list of electrical words. I never wanted to get sanctified or Christ because it looked like it hurt. But it says, how are you going to get sanctified? In spirit, in mind, and body. And it uses the word teleos. And that just simply means to be all that you can be. That's the why of it. 2 more. I can't get through my day without this. Another one of the whys. Jeremiah 12:5 says this, if you have run with men and they wore you out, how, and you're not supposed to add anything, but if you run with men and they wore you out, how do you expect to outrun horses? And if you fall down in a time of peace, how are you going to stand up in the middle of the lions in Jordan? See, God's standards are so high. That's what he expects. That's the culture that he expects. One of the things, I'll tie this up with ATP again. And one of the reasons it's so important to me, in Deuteronomy 30, verse 19, God says, I have set before you life and death. And he simply says, choose life. And I've read that before. I bet most of you all have, familiar with it. On December 18th, one of the people we work with has MS. And constantly, come on, Dave, you got to try it a little bit. Come on, Dave, you got to try a little bit. What was the problem? He fell. He broke his hip. Hip was fixed. no problem. He had MS, but he'd had MS for 20 years, no problem. And one day I said, you know, Dave, if you don't choose to live, you're going to die. That was on December 18th. And I said, what do you want to do? And he says, I don't know. You don't know? Then let me tell you again. If you don't choose to live, you're going to die. What do you want to do? I don't know. On December the 30th, 12 days later, he died. That has really honed that into me. Because it looks to me like on the surface, there's 2 options. But there's really 3 options. We can choose to live. We can choose to die. Or we cannot make a choice, which is what Dave did. In the time that you all have been here tonight, 3 veterans will shoot themselves, will have shot themselves. 24 a day. 24 veterans a day kill themselves. They choose to die. But other people, and that's the people that ATP is really working with, we have a choice. And if we don't choose life, then we will have death. Let's choose life. Thank you so much.
All right, let's give him another big round of applause. It's not every day that you can say that you were in the same room as a former Pittsburgh Steeler, or that we get to say we know someone who has not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Super Bowl rings. So thank you so much. It was such an honor to have you. So I've had the great pleasure to serve as the executive director of the Grove City Area Chamber of Commerce since 2008, and I've had some truly wonderful and dedicated individuals serving on our chamber's board of directors. Each board member gives of their time and their talent to make sure that Grove City continues to be a great place to live, work, and play. I can't say enough good things about our board members, and I do say that every year, so I really mean it. We are very lucky to have a group of people who serve because they truly care about the entire community. Having the same focus builds a cohesive group. So if you'll turn in your programs, I'm going to recognize at this time my current board members. Some of them were able to be here with us and some weren't. But as I say your name, if you are here, if you can please stand, and then if we can hold the applause, we'll recognize them together at the end. So, serving as president in 2018, Greg Liska. Vice President, Amy Malloy. Treasurer, Nick Walters. Past President, Dave Poland. Membership Chair, Mike Peck. Josh Click, Mike Cunningham, John Inman, Mike Johnson, Abby Turner Michael, Tom Burdick, Adam Cook, Elizabeth McCullough, Mark Panty, Carmen DeRose, Ken Frenchak, Dino Neofatistos, Cody Trench. Now you can please give me some help in thanking them. I also, on that page, want to recognize my administrative assistant, Kelsey Hoffman, right back there in the pink. I always appreciate the good work that she does. So while we are proud of their service to our chamber and community, it is always sad for us to lose a retiring board member. Tonight, we want to recognize 4 of our board members who retired at the end of 2017, and we want to thank them for all that they have done for our chamber. When I say your name, please come forward and accept a small token of our gratitude for your time, dedication, and service. Now, unfortunately, our first one isn't able to be here with us this evening, but it was Michelle Zerwinski from Grove City Premium Outlets, who served from 2012 until 2017. Georgie Hodge, Grove City Realty. Georgie. Oh, there she is. So Georgie served proudly with us from 2012 until 2017. Sean Sweeney, Sweeney Photography. Oh, turns out he was not able to be here. He was supposed to be here. He served from 2012 until 2017. And then Joseph Wright with Friends Office. He was also not able to attend, but he served from 2012 to 2017. So let's give them a round of applause. So we would also like to recognize our outgoing president for his service to the Grove City Chamber Board during 2017. We valued his leadership, his direction, and his dedication to the chamber. When this man agrees to serve on a board, I can say that he gives his full commitment and he is truly involved. Dave Poland. We're now going to move on to our Leadership Grove City. So this past year, the Grove City Chamber offered Leadership Grove City 2017. This program is designed to offer tools and information to participants to enhance their knowledge and hone their leadership abilities. Our program is broken down into 6 sessions that teach the participants about everything from the history of Grove City to economic development to health and human services, and even gives participants an in-depth lesson on Robert's Rules of Order so that they can learn how to properly lead and participate in a meeting. Each session is designed to give the participants information to build upon in order to strengthen them as a leader and prepare them to achieve higher goals in the workplace and to serve their community through committees and or boards in their personal or professional lives. The Leadership Grove City class of 2017 was made up of 10 individuals who were selected by the steering committee. This group met for the first time in September 2017, and over the months that followed became a tight-knit group that considers one another friends. The Chamber requires the group to work together as a unit on a community project. This group was tasked with choosing their own community project rather than being assigned one. The hope was that they would collectively decide what they were passionate about. Also, it forced them to work together to come to a decision about what their focus would be. With several leaders, that can sometimes prove difficult. They are all here tonight and will be recognized for all of their hard work as graduates of Leadership Grove City. But first, they would like to give you a very brief presentation on their community project.
Okay, just kidding on the PowerPoint. So we all decided that we really wanted to help Aware. We had a really strong feeling for it that never shook. And every single time we came up with a new project, and I promise it changed multiple times, that was never changed. So when we asked Megan, what does Aware need? What do they need us to help them with? She came up with 2 responses, and one of them was that she needed supplies for the women and children that are in that facility. And it's not just things that you would think of like body wash and shampoo and things like that. Think about a woman who's changed her entire life. She is separated from a situation that she was not happy in. She might not have a job, might not have any assets. She's going to a job interview. I want one woman in this room to raise their hand if they would be okay going to a job interview with no makeup on. So things that were going to help them feel more confident in the situations that they just left and enter into a new situation that's going to potentially save their own life and the life of their children. So we did a Walmart drive. So what we ended up doing is we went outside Walmart between December 5th and December 9th, and we stood out there in the cold the whole time, and we collected donations for the Brandy Montgomery House. After 5 days of collections on a 500 unit goal, we reached over 1,500 units with the help of Grove City. So the next thing that Megan told us was that there was a water hazard that was causing an issue for the children who are playing on the playground. The drowning risk was very high because of this water hazard. So the goal was to raise money to build a fence to block off that water hazard so the children can go out and play safely. So the fiscal goal for that project was $4,000, and with the help of you guys today, we have reached it. So in the spring of this year, the fence will be installed at the Brandy Montgomery House, and the kids will be able to go outside and play. So our project across the board was a complete success with the support of all of our employers that sponsored us for the program, with all of the businesses that came in and had individuals come in and speak with us, with the companies that allowed us to come for our field trips and go in and see how their businesses work, and it gave us a really good indication of leadership skills. For Ken and Beth for leading us through this whole process and biting their tongue when they really wanted to tell us we were wrong. And then the 10 of us together, working together in a close-knit group and achieving these goals that we set out for ourselves back in September. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Carly, and for those of you who bought tickets, get ready. We're pulling them.
All right, so we're going to pull for our third place prize, which is the date night at the Holiday Inn Express. This package comes with a complimentary bottle of wine, as well as an in-room movie with lots of extra added amenities at the hotel as well. This also offers a dinner at Cannon's as well, too. And the winner is John Inman. Oh! Belle has the... All right, and our second place prize is a family fun package at the Hampton Inn and Suites, just right next door to the Holiday Inn Express. This package also comes with extra amenities, as well as an in-room movie, pizza, breadsticks, and pop. And the winner of this one is Nina Kilmer. All right, and our first place prize is a snowblower, because living in Western Pennsylvania, who doesn't need a snowblower? And we might need this to get out of here tonight as well. So, let's see. Uh-oh. Oh my gosh, it's Greg Liska.
Try again. I have a snowblower. Could the Y use it? Could the Y use it?
That's just what I want, is just want somebody to use it.
We'll give it to the Y.
You want to give it to the Y? We're going to donate to the Y. Yay. Thank you guys.
Thank you everybody for listening to our presentation and supporting the Grove City class of Grove City Leadership Class of 2017. Thank you.
Ken, if you could come up and help me with the awards. So this is Ken Frenchak, and he was my right hand, and he helped me corral these 10 amazing people. So I was really thankful to Ken for all of his help. So we do have certificates and awards. I am extremely honored to now recognize and introduce to you each of the members of Leadership Grove City 2017. Please hold all applause until all 10 of the participants have been named and come forward. Now I will say, on a side note, there are 10 participants, 8 of which are ladies, 2 of which are gentlemen. Somehow, only the ladies were able to make it tonight. We lost them somewhere. But first and foremost, Ryan Brumbaugh, Ecker, Custer, McCall, and Epstein. Shelby Kahn, Grove City, YMCA. Doug Flickinger, Turner Insurance Agency. Carly Gregg, American Hospitality Group, and specifically Holiday Inn Express and Candlewood Suites. Oh, Hampton Inn, sorry. Bell Hall, American Hospitality Group, Holiday Inn Express. Is that right? I had them mixed.
You did a little change on you. It's new.
It's new. Oh, okay.
Congratulations.
Jessica Kilmer, Cannon's Chop House.
Congratulations.
Megan Matthews, Aware.
Congratulations.
Julie Mayberry, TMS Physical Therapy.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Lisa Staff, Grove City College. And Amy Urbanik, McGill, Power, Bell, and Associates.
Congratulations.
So please join me in applauding them for all of their hard work and their leadership, and in recognizing that this is the future of our community. And if you are currently looking for people to serve on committees or boards, please ask them, invite them. They are willing to serve. But again, thank you and congratulations, all of you.
All right, well, first, thank you, John, for the inspiration. That was a great, great speech. So the chamber, my speech got picked up, so I'm just going to go. The chamber really, to me, is an organization of small businesses for small businesses. We have roughly 300 members. There are a litany of things that the chamber does for us. I had a list, but we'll skip. Dave did a great job of naming a lot of those. But it's a great way to network at events just like this, where we all come together for a purpose. It's a great way to get some advertising out. I don't know if you know that you can call Beth and you can get an email blast out for an incredibly low price. It's a place where we can get discounted zoo and amusement park tickets. If you didn't know that, you're a member, you get discounts. You just have to call the office. So I'm going to go. So it really is an amazing organization, and it's incredibly well run. The Grove City Chamber is the envy of the local chambers, of the chamber community, and that is a fact. And really the heart of the chamber is Beth Black. So I just want to take a moment and say thank you, Beth, for all of the hard work, all of the blood, sweat, and tears, the setting up of random displays and the splinters and trying to find storage and all the things that none of us have any clue about what goes in. And I just want to say thank you for all that you do for all of us. As the president of the board, I want to sincerely tell all of you that we do care. As a chamber, as a board, we do care about you. And if we can help you, please do not hesitate. We are here for you. And if you can help us, we're here for you too. So, with that, we care. That's the bottom line. As a chamber, as an organization, the leadership here cares about you. So with that, I'll invite Eric up to continue tonight.
What I? You gotta do something. Hey, get this out of here, will you?
I gave it to the Y.
Did you really?
Did you hear?
I didn't.
So we don't let him just come up.
Oh,
No. So we now get to the part of the evening where Eric Thomas will entertain us.
no.
Yeah, as only he can, as he leads us into the presentation of the Community Service Award. Before Eric begins, I would just like all of you to turn in your programs to the page that lists all of the previous Community Service Award winners. Some of our past recipients are unable to be with us this evening, and some have passed away over the years, but the legacy of their good works live on. We would like to take a moment and recognize those that are here. Please stand when I call your name, and if you will hold applause, we can recognize them together. Dave Cashdollar, Mary Kay Maddox, Joseph D. Monteleone, Gary Turner, Jeff and Georgie Hodge, John Inman, and Eric Thomas.
That was a mistake.
These individuals have won the Community Service Award because they have given of their time, their talents, their treasure, and because they care about their community. Someone recognized their contributions and nominated them for this award. I want you to take the time to look around and appreciate what others are doing. Too often in this world, we just forget to pay attention. Recognize one another for the good things each does. nominate someone to receive this award in coming years. But most importantly, continue to do what you do to make our community great and take the time to thank others for what they are doing as well. We do have a committee of past recipients that reviews any nominations that we receive and chooses the next recipient of the Community Service Award. The recipient is kept a secret, sometimes really a secret, until our annual dinner. So on that note, I would like to introduce the one, the only, my friend, Eric Thomas.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. I'm going to try to put this on here. It's going to fit. Probably not going to fit. Everybody's been sitting for a while. Stand up and stretch here just a second. I know I had a nice meal. John had some great words. Thank you, John. Okay, sit down. That's enough. So for John and Deborah and some other folks who may not have been here last year, let me explain. No, that's going to take too long. Let me sum up. Last year at this time, I was given false information by Beth Black. And then Tom Gregg turned into a mental patient. We were at the college last year. President McGillicuddy's here. Thank you very much. Anyway, Tom stood up, scared the heck out of me. He was one of the best actors ever. But I want you to know, Tom, come on up here a minute. But I want you to understand one thing.
Are you sure you want to do this?
I do. I do.
You know what happened last time I was close to a microphone?
Well, let me tell you something.
It didn't go so well.
There's
for you.
4 of Grove City's finest here, and they're armed. Where's Chief Osborne? Thank you very much. He's got 3 of his corporals here. If you see a little red dot, actually they need taser training tonight. You have your tasers with you, right? That's what we're planning on doing for you. We're just going to taser training in the parking lot. Actually, you know, the Oscars were announced just recently, yesterday, right? This morning. I forget which. So I've been authorized by the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts, and Sciences to say the Oscar goes to Tom Gregg for your acting ability last year.
It says go away. I'm going to do that.
Great. See you later. John Kolb, you were my hero in high school. And you will always be, no matter what, where, when, and how, number 55 for me. Thank you. You know, Tim McGraw has a song that says, "You're humble and kind, sir," and that's you. Maybe opponents on the field didn't agree with that. But it's because of you that Terry Bradshaw is still alive. You protected his blind side, and without you, the Steelers don't win 4 Super Bowls in the 1970s. So thank you. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'd really love to know what Chuck Noll and the Chief thinks about kneeling during the national anthem. You don't have to. Go ahead.
I think did I say today is my dad's birthday?
No.
He would have been 100 years old today. He died in September. And at the funeral, they folded the flag. He was in the Pacific in World War II. At the funeral, they folded the flag. And they saluted me. The last thing that was on my mind was kneeling when they presented that flag. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Well, that just blew about 4 of my pages. Thank you, John. I've never thought about this award as something to be won. We don't have a winner. We present an honoree. And you can see the names in the program, and you saw some of these folks stand up here today. It was when Beth just introduced everybody. there's a few boneheads on that list. me included. My loving, yeah. But there are a couple of gems as well, and pillars of the community. But this honor is bestowed on a person who is nominated by another member of the community. And the committee looks for somebody who serves the community through personal involvement, displays community leadership, and becomes completely involved in any project leading to a better, more progressive Grove City. And what I have found over the years is not only are all those boxes checked, but our honorees make up many more of their own boxes, and they go well above and beyond just because it's the right thing to do. I had the opportunity this Christmas to watch the holiday classic, It's a Wonderful Life, with my daughter Gracie, who's 15 years old. And it was a wonderful time to be able to watch that movie and think about Jimmy Stewart. You know, Pennsylvania native Jimmy Stewart played George Bailey. And if he lived in Grove City, I think he would be nominated for this award, even though he didn't want to stay in Bedford Falls. He became one of its most selfless citizens. He kept people together. He brought hope and encouragement. He stood up to crabby old Mr. Potter, right? Because it was the right thing to do. And simply put, he served his community. He served his friends. His savings and loan company got into some financial troubles, as you know in the movie, and causing him to panic. And he didn't think that he shouldn't have been born, is what he felt. But of course, he had to stand up to the bank examiner. He might be going to jail. So he was frustrated. And his angel, his guardian angel, Clarence, came down and showed him what the world would be like without him. And he toured around town and he visited different places around the town and realized that the whole town was a lot worse off because he wasn't there. So George Bailey made a difference in their lives. He made a difference in the whole community. And I'll admit that I get a little weepy during the last scene of that movie when the friends were all running around town and gathering up money because George was in trouble. And they pour money out on his table and they pull change out of their pockets just to give to George because it's the right thing to do. Sure, George helped them in the past, and maybe some people were trying to pay him back. But other people knew that he needed help, and he was a friend. Our recipient tonight certainly has many friends, not only in this room, but outside these walls as well. And I called on some of them for some of the information I'm going to share with you tonight. And anytime I asked anybody, the response was instantaneous and positive. They wanted to share. They wanted to tell me and tell you what they think. So I'm going to start with a quote from Vance Oakes, who has been our borough manager since 2006. He's still considered to be the new guy. Right, Vance? But he says about his colleague, he says, "This year's recipient has been my mentor and provided guidance to me. He might not tell me how to solve a particular problem, but with his support and by listening closely to his experience and encouragement, I'm able to clearly see a path to a solution. He once told me that being a leader sometimes means being flexible about your position or view on a particular issue. Being a true leader sometimes means having to compromise. Positions or decisions can be 100% right or 100% wrong, but often in life, arguments don't have a winner-take-all answer or aren't so cut and dry. He has shown me that I need to be willing to listen to counterpoints and be open to information against my viewpoint and willing to compromise. He has raised wonderful children and has taught them to be kind and respectful. It's an inspiration to me raising my son." Those words from Vance Oakes, and we're glad to have you in the borough office, sir. Thank you very much. Jeff Black is another longtime friend and thinks tonight's honoree has, quote, "found a way to serve the community at a very high level without compensation." I think it's always amazing what can be accomplished that people don't care who gets the credit. Jeff went on to say he raised money, reached out to the governor, and worked with the borough to create a revitalization downtown business district. He's been directly responsible for helping to make our community an attractive place to live and work, and he has a trait that makes him fiercely loyal to his friends, family, and this community. We have benefited greatly from this outstanding characteristic, were Jeff's words, and when you look at the positive things in the community, you will probably find his fingerprints all over them. The 2007 Community Service Award winner, Mary Kay Maddox, and she's one of the ones I think was a very good choice, has worked side by side with tonight's honoree. She said that he is over-anxious was her word, to serve in the community. He is respectful to everyone, easy to like as a good friend, coworker, and government official. Another longtime friend and Grove City Mayor Randy Riddle said, "I am proud to have served in local government with this recipient for over 20 years. He is a proven leader who is passionate about making Grove City a great place to live and work." In addition to his work in government and in the downtown revitalization, he has also been involved with the YMCA. The Y has been successful in providing services to hundreds of families in this community. Adam Cook, the CEO, said, "Our recipient has been involved in raising funds and was a major voice for kicking off the It's Time to Grow campaign. He was the chairman of the Strategic Planning Committee. He is a donor, supporter, friend, and advocate. He has never been afraid to ask the difficult questions and was really good at steering a conversation. He was always there when we needed him. No matter what was happening in his life, he was there." According to Adam, he said, "He has helped me navigate difficult conversations and provided honest feedback. He helped shape the first year of my CEO career. We continue to be thankful for the blessing he bestows on the Y." Speaking of blessings, I want to take a minute here to say that the YMCA and this community is very blessed to have Karen Wendelschafer in our midst. She is the coach of the first state championship team in the history of Grove City High School. The team has taken that honor 2 years in a row. Now that's a tremendous accomplishment. I don't care in what sport. But as a parent of 3 children who have benefited from the swim teams at the Y and the high school, I know I speak for other parents of swimmers who want to say thank you for your passion and commitment to our kids. Not only have you taught them how to swim fast and work together as a team, but you have had an impact on their lives. You've built their characters as well. Thank you. When I spoke to Karen about our recipient tonight, she was eager to share that, and she was eager to share this little story. She said, "Our recipient tonight tried convincing his son that he was adopted from Chile. There's more to that I want to hear, but that's all I know." She went on to say that he has been the chief volunteer officer on the Y board, also served on the branch and corporate boards, and he's the president of the high school boosters, even though he currently doesn't have a child in the program. She said, "He is one of the most generous individuals I've had the privilege of knowing. He gives so much of himself to his cause, which allows others to benefit." Now, my brother Doug is a friend of this award winner, but he is conveniently out of town. Thank you very much. So he sent me an email, and I want to read to you exactly what he said. And the salutation at the top of the email says, "Here you go, son of a bitch." Yes, that is his term of endearment for me. And it's been that way for years. And you wonder why I twitch. But Doug went on to say, "It has been a great pleasure to know him for many years. I had the privilege of seeing him in many different roles, such as father, husband, Sunday school teacher, council president, and candidate for county commissioner. If you know him, you know that he excels in everything he does. But to me, his greatest accomplishments are as a husband and a father. I've had the great privilege of interacting with him in his role as a family man, and his children are the most respectful and delightful young people I've had the privilege of knowing. And that speaks directly to the role he has played in the lives of as a father. He never wavered in his commitment to his family, no matter how difficult the circumstances, and all the while continuing to lead our community in his many roles. I, for one, and the community as a whole, he said, are better for his leadership and inspiration. I consider it one of the greatest privileges to be able to call him a friend. And his last paragraph is directed directly to our honoree tonight. He says, "Enjoy this night and the well-deserved recognition. Don't worry, I'll be home soon to insult you and bring you back to earth." Now, I wanted to share some words from his children with you, but I won't do them justice. I would prefer that you hear them directly from the spokesperson for the family, and ask that the other friends and family please join us. Come on in the room, guys.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. I would like to say right up front that I do not possess the same public speaking elegance as my father. Last time I was in a group speaking in front of people, I fainted. So I'll be looking to Rockwell or Spencer to take over if I can't make it through. When I first heard that my father was going to receive this award, I thought two things. First, that I was incredibly proud of him, and that I thought no one deserved it more. And the second was that this was going to go straight to his head. As a joke, my siblings and I often call him the most important man in Grove City because of his involvement in the community. And after getting this award, he might believe it. But don't worry, we'll be here to keep you grounded. My father is one of the best men that I know. His many years of community service are just one example of the selfless man that he is. He's treated Grove City like another one of his children. I've asked each of my siblings to write a story about my father. I would like to give you an idea about not the man you read about in the Allied News, but the man we call Dad. The first story is from my oldest brother, Taylor, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. I was about 10 years old when my father informed me he was going to run for county commissioner. I was too young to know anything about county government, but I knew it was an important position and that I thought no one could do a better job than my father. I learned that campaigning consisted of attending pancake breakfast, where I was the youngest person there by nearly 50 years, and countless Saturdays spent tagging along with my father and Jeff Black. But my favorite story comes from the night of the general election. All the people who had worked so hard to help get my father elected were at the coffee grove, anxiously waiting the election results to come in. As a 10-year-old boy, I'm convinced that not only is my father going to win, but that no one else stood a chance. As the night drags on, the results continue to point to the fact that my father may in fact lose the election. I can't believe that this is the case. I'm beyond shocked, and so is everyone in the room. Some are visibly upset, including my mom. At this point, I'm angry. Angry that the voters could have chosen someone other than my father, and confused as to why he wasn't angry too. He then calls his competitors and concedes to them, as well as congratulating them on their victory. Finally, he gets in front of everyone and thanks them for all they have done on his behalf. He states that any blame for the loss falls squarely on his shoulders and not theirs. I'm impressed not only by his ability to be gracious in loss, but also to think first and foremost of the people that helped him. His first instinct was not to pass around blame, but to take upon himself and accept full responsibility for it. It taught me so many more things than an election win ever could. It taught me the way in which a man should handle losses in life, the importance of being grateful for those around you, and the importance of always putting others first. I knew my father was hurting more than anyone, but his primary objective was not to wallow in his sorrow. From his service on council to his service to his friends and family, my father has always put others first. My dad taught me that hardships are simply opportunities for individuals to show their true colors. The next story I want to share is from my younger brother, Rockwell. If I had to choose just one example of my dad's great strength of character, it would have to be this past year when I wrecked my car and rolled it 4 times. My sister was the first one I called because I was afraid my dad would be angry. My sister was the first, in the hospital, my sister told me that she had already called him, and she said he wasn't particularly pleased with me, but she also said he had almost left Virginia that night to make sure I was okay. When I got home the next day, I knew my dad was on his way, and I was very anxious to hear what he would have to say. I thought it would go something like, "What the hell were you thinking?" However, when he arrived, he didn't yell. He just hugged me and said, "I'm so glad that you're okay." He then proceeded to say, "You have to slow down, Rockwell. You could have died that night." Now I believe his words were more than just a driving lesson. I believe that he was trying to teach me to slow down and enjoy life. The next story is from my youngest brother, Spencer. My favorite story about my dad isn't related to any of the great lessons he's taught me over the years. My story is very simple, but I think it expresses an important characteristic that my dad possesses. Growing up, my siblings and I spent a lot of time getting muddy in our backyard, and when the weekends would come, my father would join us. Being a family who loves football, that was often the game of choice. My dad was always the all-time quarterback. Taylor and I would play one-on-one in the cold, rain, and mud, and my dad was right there with us. My dad never complained about the weather conditions or the fact that we wouldn't want the games to end. The trait I think this exhibits is that my father knows the most important gift you can give is time. It's something precious that you can never get back. He gave this gift to us growing up, but he also gives it to the community that he loves. The last story I'm going to share with you this evening is my own, if I can make it. My father has always been my biggest fan. He's always offered endless support to me in anything that I do and was sure that I would be the best. I credit his enthusiasm in my abilities for giving me the confidence I have today. As a parent, he was never shy about making sure we knew just how important we were to him. I'm sure that most of you know that this is a quality he doesn't share exclusively with his children. The experiences I've had with my dad have affirmed this, but one in particular is the way I've seen him interact with his coworkers. I know that he's gone above and beyond to help those in need of medical care simply because it's just the right thing to do. I've gone to visit my dad countless times at work over the years, but there's one time that stands out. I was at Butler Hospital, and my mom had fallen asleep during her chemo treatment, so I went down to my dad's office to see him. When I got downstairs, he was thrilled to see me. We left him to get coffee at a small cafe located on the other side of the hospital. We passed many people on our walk, and my father stopped to ask each one of them how they were doing with so much sincerity it was tangible. He then proceeded to introduce me to each of them while beaming with pride. The part that really struck me, and where my admiration for my dad truly lies, is that he treats everyone with the same amount of respect and dignity, no matter who it is. My dad was just as proud to introduce me to the cafeteria worker as he was the cardiothoracic surgeon. My dad has this amazing gift of making everyone he meets feel important, no matter the circumstances. He just does the right thing. I could stand here for hours telling stories and talking about other honorable characteristics that my dad possesses, but I would be remiss not to mention his strength through my mother's illness. As many of you saw, he was the rock that held our family together while everything else fell apart. I am beyond blessed to have him as my father, role model, and best friend. As you can see from each of these stories, my father is not only a selfless community servant, but a wonderful father, coworker, and friend, a man who always puts others first, whether it be in the community, at work, or at home with his family. It is my distinct privilege and honor to present the 2017 Chamber of Commerce Community Service Award to my father, George Pokran.
A little family time out here for just a second. Give your dad a hug. Nice job. George?
I don't know what to say. Speechless, and a lot of you who know me know that's hard to believe. I just want to thank everyone. What I do because I believe in helping others, and I want to thank all of you for allowing me to do what I do and giving me the support. It's a privilege to serve the borough and anything else I do. And to work in healthcare with wonderful people who are here tonight and others who could not be here I work with. I'm humbled by this award and humbled by everyone. I want to thank all of you. I want to mostly thank my family and my deceased wife for supporting me through this, and all of my friends and family. I wouldn't do it if I didn't believe in all of you, in all of Grove City, and doing what's best, also in my position in healthcare. Thank you so much, and I'm honored to have my family here.
Don't move. Don't move. Diane Helbig here from Senator's office. Come on up. You have a citation, I believe, for George.
I'm not going to jail, am I?
Yeah, well, the chief is still here, right? We shouldn't have put you on the 18th green out there. That's your.
Oh, good evening, everyone. It's such an honor to be here. Senator Brooks planned to be here personally to congratulate you. She got held over in Harrisburg. They were in session today. But she asked me, she penned a few words, and she asked me to read it to you. And I'll just read it to you. Dear George, it is with such great pleasure I congratulate you on your selection for the prestigious Community Service Award from the Grove City Chamber of Commerce. What an honor. I regret that I must miss the ceremony due to legislative session in Harrisburg, so please accept my apologies for my absence. Your service to Butler Memorial Hospital, the Grove City business community, and the community at large is laudable and illustrates many reasons why you deserve this award. Please accept my warmest congratulations on this mark of recognition, along with this citation from the State Senate. As you know, our communities rely on caring people like you, who participate actively in our local projects and endeavors. You most certainly have been a strong example of civic involvement over the years. We are fortunate you have been engaged and dedicated to the best interest of Grove City. Through your volunteerism and professionalism, you have placed service first and have truly made a difference in efforts to move Grove City forward. As not only a resident and a councilman, but as a volunteer with a passion for improvement. I'm certain that your kiddos are so proud of you, though I know that Taylor, Jesse, Rockwell, and Spencer have grown into amazing young adults already. Congratulations again to you on this well-deserved award, and thank you for the contributions you've made in the lives of so many. I'm happy to join the communities you serve in saluting you for years of service. May you enjoy continued prosperity always. Sincerely, Michelle Brooks, State Senator. And on behalf of Senator Brooks and the Senate of Pennsylvania, I have a citation to present as well. Congratulations.
Thank you, Diane, and please let Senator Brooks know how much I appreciate it. We go way back. We ran against each other for county commissioner, actually. And we're friends to this day. It's just part of the political routine. But again, I'm totally humbled that all of you came.
Let's give George another round of applause.
Thank you.
Such a deserving person, and I hope that he serves as a light to all of you and an inspiration to continue to do what you do, but also to inspire good things in others. Now we are coming to the conclusion of our annual dinner. I do want to quickly mention, if you look in the center of all of the tables, our lovely centerpieces were created by Coker's Grove City Floral Company. I think they did a wonderful job, and you get to take them. So you can fight amongst yourselves. There are 26 of them. Please don't go to blows, but you may help yourselves to a centerpiece. So we want to give, if I can have your attention for just one more second, if we can give Grove City Cokers a round of applause, and if we can give the Country Club a round of applause for a delicious dinner. And most of all, I want to thank you all for coming this year. We couldn't do this without you. We truly appreciate you. Thank you.
To slow down, Rocco.